On any given night, a high-rolling gambler can take millions out of Steve's pocket. And they can also leave if his house doesn't completely captivate them. On the other hand, nearly all mutual fund companies have a stacked deck. They are the ultimate casino. They've captured you, you're going nowhere, and they are guaranteed revenue whether you win or not. Twice burned. After 2008, when the US stock market lost more than 37%, the financial world was completely changed for most Americans. Even 5 years later, a survey from Prudential Financial showed that 44% of American investors still say they would never put their money in the stock market again, while 58% say they lost faith in the market. But the insiders are still in the game. Why? Because they know better. They know the right way to play the game. They know that today there are powerful tools and strategies that have never existed before. Get this, today you can use a tool, issued and backed by one of the largest banks in the world, that will give you 100% principal protection guaranteed by its balance sheet, and allow you to participate in 75% to 90% of the upside of the market, the S&P 500, without being capped. That is not a misprint. You can participate in up to 90% of the upside, but if the market collapses, you still get back 100% of your money. Sounds too good to be true? And if a product like this did exist, you would have already heard of it, right? Wrong. The reason? In the past, to even hear about this, you had to be in the top 1% of the 1%. These are not retail solutions, where they sit on the shelf. These are custom designed for those with enough money to partake. This is just one example of how, as an insider, you'll soon know the new rules of how to achieve wealth with minimal risk. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Warren Buffett. The road less traveled. The journey ahead is one that requires your full participation. Together we are going to climb this mountain called financial freedom. It's your personal Mount Everest. It won't be easy, and it will require preparation. You don't head up Everest without a very clear understanding of the dangers that lie ahead. Some are known, and some could sneak up on you like a violent storm. So before we set foot on the mountain, we must fully grasp what's on the path before us. One false step could mean the difference between wondering how you will pay next month's mortgage and an abundant life, free of financial stress. We can't ask someone to climb it for us, but we also can't do it alone. We need a guide who has our best interests at heart. The pinnacle. The core concept of successful investing is simple. Grow your savings to a point at which the interest from your investments will generate enough income to support your lifestyle without having to work. Eventually you reach a tipping point at which your savings will hit a critical mass. This simply means that you don't have to work anymore unless you choose to, because the interest and growth being generated by your account gives you the income you need for your life. This is the pinnacle we are climbing toward. The great news is that if you become an insider, today there are new and unique solutions and strategies that will accelerate your climb, and even protect you from sliding backward. But before we explore these solutions in more depth, let's map out our journey with more clarity. There are two phases to your investing game: the accumulation phase, in which you are socking away money for growth, and the decumulation, during which you are withdrawing income. The journey up the mountain will represent our accumulation phase, with the goal of reaching the pinnacle, or critical mass. The goal is to stay on top of the mountain as long as we can. To take in the views and breathe in the fresh air of freedom and accomplishment. There will be many hurdles, obstacles, and, if you're not alert, even lies, that will prevent you from reaching the peak. To ensure our best chance of success, we will flush these out in the pages to come. And when we enter the second act of our life, when it's time to enjoy what we made, we will have the freedom to work only if we want to. At this stage we will ski down the mountain and enjoy ourselves. Spending time with the ones we love, building our legacy, and making a difference. It's during this phase that we will eliminate the number one fear of baby boomers, the fear of outliving our money. This second phase is rarely discussed by the asset management industry, which is focused on keeping money invested. It's not about having some arbitrary amount of money in your account on some given day. exclaimed Dr. Jeffrey Brown, professor of finance at the University of Illinois and consultant to the U.S. Treasury and the World Bank. I think a lot of people are going to get to retirement and suddenly wake up and realize, you know what? I did a fairly good job. I have all this money sitting here, but I don't know how long I am going to live, and I don't know what my investment returns are going to be, and I don't know what inflation is going to be. What do I do? After I read one of his recent Forbes columns, I called Dr. Brown to see if he would be willing to sit down and share specific solutions for investors of all shapes and sizes. We'll hear from Dr. Brown on how to create income for life, and even how to make it tax-free in his interview in Section 5, Upside Without the Downside, Create a Lifetime Income Plan. And who better to outline the solution than the man who is not only a top academic expert, but was also one of only 7 people appointed by the President of the United States to the Social Security Advisory Board. Break the chains. In the words of David Swensen, one of the most successful institutional investors of our time, to have unconventional success, you can't be guided by conventional wisdom. Let's shatter the top 9 financial myths that misguide the masses, and, more importantly, uncover the new rules of money, the truths that will set you financially free. Let's start with the biggest myth of all. Chapter 2.1. Myth 1, the $13T lie, invest with U.S. We'll beat the market. The goal of the non-professional should not be to pick winners, neither he nor his helpers can do that, but should rather be to own a cross-section of businesses that in aggregate are bound to do well. A low-cost S&P 500 index fund will achieve this goal. Warren Buffett, when you look at the results on an after-fee, after-tax basis, over reasonably long periods of time, there's almost no chance that you end up beating the index fund. David Swensen. Financial entertainment. When you turn on the financial news today, you can see that it is less news and more sensationalism. Talking heads debate with zeal. Stock pickers scream their hot picks of the day while sound effects smash, crash, and catching through our living room speakers. Reporters film live on the scene directly from the trenches of the exchange floor. The system, paid for by advertisers, breeds the feeling that maybe we are missing out. If only we had a hot tip. If only we knew the next must-own mutual fund that would surely be the 5-star Comet. Mutual funds are rated between 1 and 5 stars by rating authority Morningstar. Chasing returns is big business. Personal finance writer Jane Bryant Quinn once referred to this sensational hype as financial porn. Luring us into glossy pages where the centerfolds are swapped with 5-star ratings and promises of carefree walks on the beach and fishing off the dock with our grandkids. The bottom line is that advertisers are fighting to get a grasp on our money. The war for your assets rages on. So where do you put your money? Who can you trust? Who will protect you and get you the best return on your investment? These are the immediate questions that are sure to come to mind now that you've committed to becoming an investor, now that you've committed to socking away a percentage of your income. So where do most people put their money for the long haul? Usually the stock market. And the stock market has indeed been the best long-term investment over the past 100 years. As Steve Forbes pointed out at one of my financial events in Sun Valley, Idaho, in 2014, $1 million invested in stocks in 1935 is worth $2.4 billion today, if you held on. But the moment you open an IRA or participate in your 401k plan at work, there will be a jolly salesman, or sales process, telling you to park your money in a mutual fund. And by buying an actively managed mutual fund, what exactly are you buying? You are buying into the fund manager in hopes that his or her stock-picking abilities will be better than yours. A completely natural assumption, since we have insanely busy lives, and our method of picking stocks would be the equivalent of throwing darts. So we hand over our money to a 5-star actively managed mutual fund manager who by definition is actively trying to beat the market by being a better stock picker than the next guy. But few firms will discuss what is sometimes called the $13 trillion lie. That's how much money is in mutual funds. Are you ready for this? An incredible 96% of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat the market over any sustained period of time. So let's be clear. When we say beat the market as a whole, we are generally referring to a stock index. What's an index, you ask? Some of you might know, but I don't want to risk leaving anyone in the dark, so let's shed a little light. An index is simply a basket or list of stocks. The S&P 500 is an index. It's a list of the top companies, by market capitalization, in the United States, as selected by Standard & Poor's. Companies like Apple, Exxon, and Amazon make up the list. Each day, they measure how all 500 stocks performed, as an aggregate, and when you turn on the news at night, you hear if the market, all the stocks on the list collectively, was either up or down. So instead of buying all the stocks individually, or trying to pick the next high flyer, you can diversify and own a piece of all 500 top stocks simply by investing in a low-cost index fund that tracks or mimics the index. One single investment buys you a piece of the strength of American capitalism. In a way, you are buying into the fact that over the past 100 years, the top-tier companies have always shown incredible resiliency. Even through depressions, recessions, and world wars, they have continued to find ways to add value, grow, and drive increasing revenues. And if a company fails to keep making the grade, it falls off the list and is replaced with another top performer. The point here is that by investing in the index, you don't have to pay a professional to try picking which stocks in the index you should own. It's effectively been done for you because Standard & Poor's has selected the top 500 already.